Good morning and welcome to the show. It's Wednesday and we've got Vonda, the Coupon Queen, here in the studio with us this morning, also known as Elaine's daughter, is here.
Yes.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Elaine. What kind of money-saving tips do we have today? What if you're not a couponer? What do you do?
Okay, if you're shopping on a budget, you have to feed your family. There's actually a certain order that you should go in to save the most money, but also to get the most food for your family.
Sure.
The first thing that you want to do when you go in the grocery store is head to the meat section. You always want to buy meats first. So right now, the lowest priced meats are chicken, beef, but not ground beef. Ground beef is one of the most expensive.
Really?
Yes,
That's
items
odd.
that we can buy. So chicken, beef, and pork. That's it. Don't get anything processed. Stick with that. The next items are staples: rice, pasta, beans, and bread, and potatoes. That's it. Because you want to stretch the items that you're buying. You want it to go as far as it can go. Then third would be vegetables. Canned or frozen, that's gonna be the best deals. And unless there's fresh fruits and vegetables that are on sale. You wanna stick with the canned or frozen.
But fresh is a little more expensive.
Fresh is a little more expensive. Than dairy, milk, eggs, and butter. Forget cheese unless you absolutely need it. Then last are the household items. Bar soap, not liquid, because bar soap is going to last longer than liquid soap, and it's also cheaper. It's less expensive. Your laundry detergent, toothpaste, toilet tissue. Paper towels and dryer sheets aren't necessities, those are wants. So after you get those items, you just check your budget, and then if you have enough left, that's when you want to get some of the things that you want.
You know, there was a time and there was an age in America when there was no such thing as a paper towel, and we managed to survive, I suppose.
Yes.
You know, people used their regular towels.
Yes.
I mean, there are a lot of ways you can save money. And by buying the most important things first, like you said, the meats, and then we'll kind of work your way down there.
Right.
You can provide, if you're on a budget, you can provide your family with a really nutritious diet that
Yes,
way.
you can.
And I guess, you know, the snack foods are out.
Yes.
And what we used to call,
That's
and I think I
definitely
told you my little story before we started rolling today.
Yeah.
When I was a cashier in high school at Acme Supermarkets in New York, you know, non-taxable food items were the cheapest.
Yep.
Taxable food items, soda, chips, all that stuff, you don't need that.
And I'm actually going to add your tip to my list because that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Those are things that we don't need, and they're not healthy.
Yeah.
They're not healthy. So we kind of sort of need to go back to the way that things used to be done.
I mean, and of course, everybody has paper towels in their kitchen. I'm
Yes.
not telling you not to get paper towels.
Yeah.
But, you know, you could do without the soda. And you'll probably be
Exactly.
healthier for it. And it's very
Yes.
expensive, you know, particularly if you drink it on a daily basis.
it is.
Snack food, that's my downfall. We have a lot of it in the house, but I think Karen's going to put me on a diet here soon, so we'll see how that will work out. But yeah, but that you run into real money when you're
Yes.
having these taxable food items in your house. And alcohol, total luxury.
It
Total
is.
luxury item.
That's true. That's not needed. So my mom and my grandmom used to always say, if you take care of your needs first, your wants will fall into place. And that's so true. Take care of your needs, start saving a little bit of money, and then you'll be able to get some of your wants.
Yeah, that makes total perfect sense to me, particularly if you have a large family and you're on a
Exactly.
budget.
That's true.
Vonda the Coupon Queen, I can't even say your name right because I was singing it the other day. Thank you so much for coming on the show and getting us smart on how to save money without coupons.
Thanks, Don.
And we'll be right back after your Waking Up with Don weather. Welcome back to the show, and I'd also like to welcome back Shelly Calloway of the Shelly Calloway team of Booyah Mortgage. Booyah!
Booyah.
That's kind of our thing now, right?
Good morning,
Booyah.
Don.
Good
Yes,
to see
it
you.
is. I love that fist pump.
Yeah, I like it. Booyah! But, you know, last week we talked about what you do for Booyah Mortgage.
Right.
And just kind of a brief recap, you're kind of the leader of this team
Well,
that expedites people's mortgages.
Well, in a sense, yes.
And projects.
At least I like to think so. But yes, that's correct. So we talked about last week, I'm the Northwest Florida Business Development Director. And what that basically does is I set the expectations for the file flow, how it's going to go. So as we also spoke about last week, a real estate agent's going to come to me. They're going to say, I have a buyer. I'm going to talk with them set up a time, put them in the right direction, and make sure I set the appropriate expectations so they know going forward who they're going to be speaking with, who their loan officer is going to be, who their processor is going to be, so on and so forth, which we kind of talked
No
about.
surprises.
Right, no surprises. And the best thing about it all is that they will be specifically designated for brokers' offices. So they will always know who to call. They won't pick up the phone, get someone different on the phone. So it's super, super huge to have this type of position and make sure it's monitored correctly and setting the right expectations for all the real estate agents. So if they want to get in touch with me, I'll walk them through the process, tell them what to do, let them know who to call, or I will have someone get in touch with them. But another thing I really do want to touch on is the expectations that I need to set accordingly. The mortgage business, as we all know, is a very tough business.
Right.
There's a lot of changes, there's a lot of compliance, Dodd-Frank. I mean,
Yeah, every time Congress decides to do something nice for people, it complicates everyone's life.
it really does. So our job is to make sure that we cushion as much as we can and we make it very easy and non-emotional as possible. But
there's a lot of rules that go along with mortgages.
Oh.
Or generating a mortgage for someone.
too many to
There's a whole body of law behind it.
I could spend probably 2 years talking about that. There's a lot that goes into it that a lot of people don't understand that we're doing behind the scenes. So setting the right expectations, making sure our real estate contracts are dated for at least 30 to 45 days. And that's upon the date that we receive the executed contract, because we cannot move forward with a loan process until we have an executed contract. Period. So I've run into situations where I've received an executed contract 2 weeks already in, and I'm 2 weeks into the process. So I've got literally 2 weeks, 3 weeks to close the loan. And those are the types of things that we can work on together, whoever my partner is, to make sure that we handle that accordingly. We set those right expectations, and it's a smooth process.
So you manage the expectations, you set timelines, you kind of put out a whole timeline there for people to follow. So, you go into this whole process with, and this is something the consumer doesn't necessarily see.
Right.
But it's kind of nice to know as a consumer that we've got someone like you working with Booyah Mortgage to make sure that this thing goes through flawlessly.
And that's fully my responsibility.
And I think there are people out there who've bought homes, and I'm sure there's horror stories out there of things that have gone wrong with mortgages.
You're going to hear them all day long, but
Yeah.
I want to hear the good ones.
Yeah, and that's what you're here for.
That's right.
To give us the good news. So,
That's
Shelley, if people wanted to learn more about Booyah Mortgage or the Shelley Calloway team, what can they do?
They can either give me a call at 850-532-9332 or go to booyahmortgage.com/Shelley Calloway.
BooyahMortgage.com.
Booyah.
Booyah! We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Laura Nelson from A-List Accounting. And we're going to get some business and accounting tips from her today. They're going to help you run your small business a little more efficiently, we hope.
Maybe.
Well, what's your tip for today for a small business? What should we be doing that maybe we're not doing to run a little more efficiently?
Basically, looking at overhead costs and try to eliminate some unnecessary
stuff or overhead.
Correct. Expenditures or time, okay? Because basically the rule of thumb, time is money,
Yeah.
okay? So if you're having meetings are good, not bad, but if you're having meetings to the extent that, you don't have time to do your work,
Yeah.
then something's wrong.
Unless you're making money at a meeting,
Exactly.
yeah,
Right.
you need to monetize your time during the day as best you can.
Yep.
And now, if you're a small business and you're having meetings in the back room of your restaurant or something, you're not out there serving your patrons, and it only makes sense.
And so you're going to lose them. They'll want to leave because they're not getting service, right?
Yeah. But if you're having a meeting, say you're in a different type of business with a potential client, that's time well spent.
Exactly, right. So, I mean, there are necessary meetings, but then there are some meetings that are just meetings, just have meetings.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Having spent 30 years in the Air Force, I know all about meetings, having
Yes,
meetings.
yes.
Yeah, let's have a meeting
Yep.
about the meeting we're going to
Yep.
have. Yeah.
We did that
Yeah.
with the state, so yeah.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of governments do that. There's
They
a lot
do.
of strategizing that goes on, and who's minding the shop? We're all sitting around this big table, you know.
Yeah.
And if you look around the room, especially a big meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and then you add up how much everyone's time is worth,
Yes.
it's a very expensive meeting
Yes.
when you look at it that way.
Correct. Right. And as a government, they're not really counting their pennies as much
Yeah.
as we are.
They're starting to now more often.
Correct.
I think they are,
Correct.
but old habits are hard to break, I
Correct.
suppose.
Yep.
You know.
Versus, as an independent, business owner,
You don't want to waste time.
Exactly. So, you cut your costs by eliminating meetings, focus on your sales, or what needs to, happen in order to generate that money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we talk about cutting overhead, what are some more typical things that you can cut?
You can cut by going green, because of course, less paper means less supplies.
Does that mean turning the air conditioning off in the building and having all your employees sweating?
Just mainly printing less,
Yeah.
saving it PDF, saving it in the cloud. If you don't have to print it, now you can have 2 monitors. You see it on one side, work on it on the other, so you don't have to print it to. So if you're doing your bank reconciliation, just say, you have it on one, you have the bank reconciliation on one screen, you have your software on the other screen, you reconcile. You don't have to print it out. And you don't have to have them mail it to you, so that saves paper, saves stamps,
I remember about 20 years ago or so, and I keep hearkening back to my military career. It was like, we're going to have a paperless Air Force in 5 years. Well, guess what?
They're still not paperless.
They're still not paperless. I mean, they've certainly gone in that direction in a very big way.
Right.
But sometimes you need a wet signature, for legal documents and things
Correct.
like that. So.
Yeah, there's still a time for it, but I mean, ideally, there is a lot of paper wasted. Every time you get an email, you print it.
Isn't that crazy? And people do that too.
Exactly. So, I mean, there's places you can cut costs. I mean, paper, if you think about it in terms of cost, you can actually save money there. I mean, it adds up.
So your time is valuable.
Yes.
Road time, I would imagine, is wasted time.
Yes, it is.
Meeting time may or may not be wasted depending on what the meeting's about.
Exactly.
And of course, if you go green and you do everything electronically, you don't have to buy any more paper if you're just sending
Exactly.
electrons
Yep.
around town instead of letters, I suppose.
Yeah, less stamps.
Laura Nelson from A-List Accounting, thank you so much for coming on the show and showing us how to run our business, or businesses, a little more efficiently. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Heather Noyes from Raymond James Financial here in Panama City. Welcome back to the show. Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. Last time you were out here, we talked about some specific stocks and different sectors, I suppose, in the market. And just kind of up front, there's always that little disclaimer that stocks aren't for everybody. Is that true?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're definitely not suitable for everyone. Stocks and then individual stocks aren't for everyone either, even though a mutual fund, having stocks in a mutual fund might, be appropriate. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and for the low info guys like me, a mutual fund is probably the best.
Probably
it's
safer.
kind of like fire and forget and dollar cost averaging and
Right.
let it take care of itself. But for the savvy investor, there might be some opportunities out there now.
Absolutely. And so I thought I'd share with you a couple of companies that that I hold in my portfolios or my clients' portfolios that I think have a lot of potential. And then just to add, if you're going to pick your own stocks or you're building your own portfolio, you definitely want to have different sectors. And you don't want to have more than 20% of your money in any one company because that's a pretty heavy weighting.
Well, let's for people who may not know, what exactly is a sector in the market?
Okay, so a sector would be healthcare or financials or industrials
Or tech
or technology, exactly. So you want to have multiple, I would say 6 to 8, at least 6 to 8, maybe 8 different sectors.
I guess energy would be another one.
Energy, right. And then you want to have in those sectors, you want to have more than one stock as well. So you can see that if you're trying to build your portfolio, you need to have
gotta
more.
mix it
you
up.
need to have and more money to be able to spread it across.
So you don't want to be focused in just one sector.
Right. Or stock.
Or stock. In the old days when somebody had worked for a company like say P&G and they would get P&G stock and it was okay, those days are kind of gone, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't know. We see it a lot, particularly in Panama City with Southern Company. Southern Company's a pretty broad holding across this town, not only with people that didn't work there, but people that do work there. They really, really hold on to that stock, and a lot of those people are overweight in Southern Company stock.
But it may not necessarily be a bad thing. However, you may be exposing yourself to the caprices of the market by being.
Sure.
So what are some of the stocks we should be looking for?
The first one that I was going to mention is a company called Checkpoint Software. They're a very large company, and the interesting thing about them is that they do, we've talked about some of the security breaches before, like Home Depot and Target and all these different security breaches. So they create the things to sell to companies. So they sell to large businesses, even small businesses, to provide that security, data security, and a whole plethora of things that I can't even understand, some of the things that they have to offer and the way that they actually work. But the basis of it is that they're providing security to protect consumers and businesses from that type of
when you
thing.
go to Target and you buy stuff, you know, you kind of have an expectation of your personal data staying secure.
Right.
So
And
that's
this,
important.
Yeah, absolutely. And this company's trading around $85 a share. We have a 12-month price target of about 95 on it. They have absolutely no debt. So, I mean, you think about yourself as a business owner, as a consumer, even if you had no debt and you're bringing in all of this money, and we anticipate them to continue to grow at about 12% per year. So that money that they're bringing in and the growth is going to ultimately reflect into a stock price.
Wow, and the name of the company again?
This was Checkpoint Software.
Checkpoint Software. We're going to have to keep our eye out for that one. In the 30 seconds we have left, anybody else out there we should be looking for?
McKesson is another company.
McKesson?
And that's in the healthcare industry. McKesson has a couple of different divisions. One of them, they do drugs and medical supplies and even healthcare products and things to internationally, not just in the U.S. But the other facet of it is that they provide software and intranet and things like that, and for healthcare industry. So you notice if you go to the doctor now, they have an iPad or they'll have a computer. Like the paper charts are all going away.
Oh, wow.
So they provide those services to healthcare
So
providers
McKesson
as well.
and Checkpoint are probably two things to keep an eye out for. And again, you know, individual stocks are not for everybody, but when in doubt, call you at Raymond James
Absolutely.
Financial. Heather Noyes, thank you so much for coming on the
you.
show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. I have some good people here from the Alzheimer's Alliance to tell us about what they've been up to. I've got Gene McDougall and I have Derek Williams from the Bay County Sheriff's Office. And thank you so much for coming out on the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having us.
Now, what is your involvement with the Alzheimer's Alliance? Gene?
Well, I volunteer. I volunteer because my grandmother is an Alzheimer's patient and she does live with me. And it is challenging, but it's really rewarding to be able to go out and raise money for the bracelets that we give to Alzheimer's patients here locally. And
what function does the bracelet serve? I mean, if they get lost or something, people will be
right,
able to
yeah,
identify them?
absolutely. Sometimes, you know, they walk outside and they wander and then they get lost and they don't know where they are. And the bracelets have a GPS on them so that we can track them.
So pretty
and get them
high-tech
home.
stuff. Now, Derek, you're a sheriff's deputy.
Yes, sir.
And what's the sheriff's involvement in all this?
Well, our involvement, we team up with the Alzheimer's Alliance. And when a patient comes from the Alzheimer's Alliance, we want to go out and put the bracelet on them. And with that bracelet, it comes with a frequency number. So therefore, every patient has their own certain frequency. So if they ever was to wander out and get lost, we able to track them. So therefore, the caregiver know where they're at. We can get them back to safely as possible. I'm the one that go out and make sure every month, once a month, I go out and change out the batteries. I make sure all the equipment is in good tack, is in good care. If not, I change it out. So therefore, they can keep that service going with us 24 hours. You know, any time is always available. I go out, I give them a login sheet. So therefore, when the caregiver check the batteries and check the equipment, they log it in. If something goes wrong with it, they have a direct number they call, and we get out to them as quick as we can.
Well, that's just a wonderful system. I didn't know anything about this at all.
Yes.
I really didn't, and I think it's amazing that you guys have kind of teamed up to do this and bring the technology that's needed to keep track of these folks, because they're people's loved ones.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Now, if someone, if an Alzheimer's patient with a bracelet gets lost, do they have to do anything like push a button, or is it always transmitting?
It's always transmitting. What happens is the caregiver cannot locate their mother, father, sister, brother. What it does, they call to the sheriff's office, and the sheriff's office know that the person is missing, and directly, with the GPS inside of the monitoring system, we're able to locate exactly where that bracelet is transmitting at, and we can get a unit right out right then to go and get them, bring them back home to safety.
That's just amazing.
Yeah, so there's nothing they have to do, just wear it, keep it with them.
Now, Jean, your grandmother has one of these things?
No, she's not in need of one yet. But if you do know anybody that needs one, please reach out to us, and we'll
That
be
was
happy
gonna be my next
to
question.
provide. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
If one of your loved ones is in need of one of these bracelets, who do they call?
It's the Bay County Caregivers.org.
BayCountyCaregivers.org.
Correct.
And you can keep track of your loved one who may have Alzheimer's, and you guys will help find them if they
Absolutely.
get lost.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for everything that you do, and thank you for coming on the show and getting us smart on this.
Thank you.
BayCountyAlzheimer's.org.
Yes.
This is not one of these bracelets,
It's
by the way. I
Bay
keep
County
pointing to it.
Bay County Caregivers.
BayCountyCaregivers.org. Let's put that up in letters so I don't screw it up again. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.